So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our ATD Central Florida Digital Encounter. Today, we've got Maya Kwan, who is going to talk to us about how we unbox our empathetic potential. And as you know, this last year has been a little bit crazy, and showing empathy is more important now than ever, not just in a professional manner, but also personally. And so we want you to get ready for the workshop. If you didn't do so already, make sure you grab a blank piece of paper. So it can be just a regular 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, a pen, be camera ready, because we will be having conversations and have an open mind to the conversations that we're going to have. Um, and so in a few moments, Maya is going to help us understand more about the how important it is to understand empathy and change and the traps that might hinder how we communicate. However, first, let me introduce you to our team. So this is a new year, and we have a whole new set of volunteers that we are very excited to work with because of the gifts and talents that they're bringing to ATD Central Florida to make 2021 the best year ever for this chapter. And you can learn more about all of them by visiting our website, and you can even connect with them via LinkedIn. A couple of things that are happening here at ATD Central Florida as we continue to bring new things to our members is that we now have a ATD vendor spotlight, and so look for those coming soon. We are talking to different vendors to bring topics of interest to you that you have requested to learn more about, and so those vendor demos we're in the process of scheduling them. We also have our super interesting groups meeting at different times on different topics. So definitely check out our website for that. And also new to the chapter, you can now get approved continuing education credits for any of the programs that you attend with us, such as this one. So today's actual webinar, which you're going to have a lot of fun on and learn some new things, is actually also going to give you 2 CEU credits. And as always, we like to promote Power Membership, because with Power Membership, you then have the opportunity to not just benefit from the great things happening at our local chapter, but also happening at ATD National on their level and get all the great tools and resources that they provide. So we encourage you to visit td.org and click on Power Member if you were not a Power Member, and become one. And then lastly, our theme for the year, and what Maya is bringing to us today really does hone in on the personal development side of the personal capability side of the ATD model. Our theme is building a high impact learning organization and using this model as a blueprint. And so what we're striving to do is make sure that all our programming fits into the model of the blueprint of the ATD capability model, and then showing you how these things that we're learning can help you become a better trainer, facilitator, manager, whatever that role is that you hold within the learning and development world. And our theme for Wild, which we are happy to bring to you again this year virtually, will be how we navigate this next normal, using trends in talent development to continue to bring excellence to your teams. And so now, without any further ado, I would like to introduce you to our speaker for the day, who is Maya Kwan. And Maya has a passionate mission to inspire and support others through development, and she also is inspired by them. In our short prep time, I am now inspired by Maya to do better on my producer guides as well as my facilitation techniques that I use to prep and to help others understand what is going on. And you will all see this as you see the amazing deck that she has put together. She designs insightful learning experiences and facilitates to audiences around the globe, Hong Kong, China, USA, the UK, and Australia. We were connected with Maya through our connection with Jimbo Clark, who delivered an amazing presentation on how to unbox your thinking. And so Maya takes that concept and just takes it a little bit further and a little bit deeper, and talks about empathy and how we change how we communicate. And she brings a lot of different global perspectives, which is very helpful for us, I believe, because of the world that we live in, right? We're not in our own little Central Florida bubble. We're in this great big bubble that is the entire world. And so today she's going to share those insights with us. And just a little bit more about her. In her downtime, she likes reading personal development books, attending workshops, and gaining new insights from others, as well as running, hiking, exploring, and getting new recipes for cooking and baking. I don't know how you do it all, Maya, but I am very excited to welcome you to ATD Central Florida chapter, and you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Rosa, for the introduction, and I'm very, very grateful to be here and contributing to the ATD Central Florida community, and for those of you joining, and for those of you who may be watching this in the recording format as well. So thank you and welcome all. And with that, let me switch over to the deck that I've prepared and get started. All right. Great. So just a quick flash of welcome slide, pen and paper ready, and we will have about another hour and 45 minutes of time together. And so let's go to the next slide. To align us for a smooth and also positive learning experience, let's just go over a few Zoom key features so that we all start on the same page. And here is the side-by-side mode, which is very useful. If you hover your mouse over to the top of the screen view options, you'll find the side-by-side mode, and the advantage is you can see the slides and everybody on video at the same time without anything blocking each other. The corner button on the top right-hand corner, side-by-side gallery view, then instead of just seeing me, we are able to see everyone as well. I saw that not everyone has your video camera on, and if you're able to, we highly recommend it, and that will also help us engage with each other even better. And chat is I'm sure you're very familiar with it already, so please go ahead and actually click the chat button and type a quick hello and perhaps one line on what brought you here, why were you interested to join. Thank you, Rosa. Learning more about empathy traps. Yeah, what was your thoughts or intentions of joining us today? Great subject for my attention. Hello. That is not a city or town that I am familiar with, and I would love to learn more about it. Kissimmee?
That's where Mickey Mouse lives.
Really? And also, Marcella, is that the correct way to pronounce your name? Right, great. And Jimmy, hello, welcome. And Michelle, would that be the way to pronounce your name as well, correctly? Okay, great, thank you. And we have Heidi as well, right? Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. Great. And next bit is mute, unmute, self-explanatory in many ways. And then the last button is the reaction button. If you have updated your Zoom app, you will now be seeing a couple more functions in the reaction. Actually, I'd like to invite you to click that reaction button. If you don't see everything appears on the screen, that might be because you haven't updated your Zoom application. So that might be a time to check it out if you want to see all of those. And so please go ahead and click your favorite emoji to keep engaging with us throughout the session. Go ahead and find that button, a little smiley at the bottom. Wonderful, thank you. All right, so a quick note here is I also make it a habit to check with my audience about social media consent in terms of me posting screenshots from the session on social media, mostly on LinkedIn, really. And so I like to also give this opportunity to express my gratitude and respect to your choice. If you do not like to be in the screenshot being posted on social media, please send me a private chat message and say no questions asked. You have my full respect. If you don't type anything in the private message, that would be a yes, you are grant consent that I can post certain screenshots. Stories won't be shared, but the images will be shared online. So fully respect your choice. Let me know in the private chat. Again, no judgment, no questions asked. Go ahead and do that. And so with that logistics out of the way, official welcome to Unbox, your Empathic Potential program. Rosa did an amazing job doing a great introduction of my background and a little bit more in terms of I was born and raised in Hong Kong. I lived in the US for many years myself, actually, in Los Angeles and in New York. And I'm based in Hong Kong now. And it is 7 minutes past midnight. So good morning, actually, with all of you as well. Now it's officially morning, and gladly so as well. I'm very happy for this opportunity. So I've been in people development arena for quite some years, and I used to do outdoor education. So the picture on the left here was me running an abseiling activity with students. And so instead of having empathy conversations in front of a computer these days, it used to be on a beach or in a mountain, and or also in different conference rooms, and nowadays in virtual. And the beauty is, we can just sit at home and dial in and reach such a global audience at any given point. So these are some of the past examples of the virtual sessions that I've run with different organizations in also education and corporate sectors as well. And personally, this is absolutely a passion topic of mine, and I find it super timely and, well, first of all, absolutely timeless and very timely at the same time, especially during this past year. And that's when the program was born. Actually, it was about a year ago after I read some article about empathy traps, and I spin it into a workshop of its own. So I hope you enjoy this. And speaking of books about empathy, and as Rosa mentioned, a book that I've been meaning to read is sitting right next to my pillow. I haven't opened it yet, but I like to. It's called Mean People Suck, and it talks about empathy. So I like to read that. So it's not a thick book, so if you're interested, go ahead and search for that. A very colorful green, very eye-catching cover. Mean People Suck, about empathy. Yeah, so global community contribution. And so what's this program about for you is an opportunity to reflect and raise awareness for yourselves, to connect with your emotions and experiences as we talk about empathy and empathy traps, and absolutely to learn with and learn from others. And this is absolutely not me talking for the next hour or two. There's going to be a mix of reflection, hands-on activities, a little bit of writing, and also sharing with each other in the main room or in the breakout room as well. So something to be mindful of is empathy is a huge topic, and it can also be very academic. And in this program, it's designed in a way, and it's not meant to be any kind of therapy, counseling, or psychology clinic type of session. So let's be mindful of this, the type of stories that we choose to share. As much as we want to learn from it, let's just be aware of that. Okay. With that, a couple of invitation is for everybody to fully participate and keep an open mind, stay curious, and last but not least, respecting each other in terms of confidentiality. And the quote around it is, what's shared here stays here. So they're going to be, I talked about emotions and personal experience and the stories that we choose to share. Kind of like the Vegas rule, let it stay here. And the session is recorded, but the breakout rooms where you will share those stories will not be recorded. So that you know. And when we talk about learnings in the main room, absolutely carry it with you. Keep the learning on and let the learning leaves here. All right, so may I get a thumbs up if everyone is cool with that? We then will move on. Wonderful. Yeah, we welcome physical thumbs up, digital thumbs up, whichever you like. Great. And fun fact is that actually research shows that if we move our body, it also facilitates our brain to learn more effectively and retain memory better. So here's another reason while we're sitting in front of the computer, or some of you might be standing, to move our body even more. All right. So with that, let's kick us off with a quick, let's for you to shout out or type in the chat, whichever way. We also leverage the warmth of the small group. What, in your words, what is empathy? Feel free to come off mute and just chime in quickly.
Yeah, I've always seen it as, really the attempt to put yourself in the other person's shoes. We can't always understand exactly what they may be going through, but at least attempting to get a better understanding of what they feel and what they're going through.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, thinking about another person's shoes. Great. Yeah, putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Michelle said that as well. Anything to add on? Yeah, Marcella, I try to understand others' experiences. Absolutely. So well said. And to align us with a common definition, pretty much all of your contribution combined. And I'm quoting Daniel Goleman, and he's a renowned psychologist as well. He wrote several books, and one of his books is Working with Emotional Intelligence, and he wrote, empathy is awareness of others' feelings, needs, and concerns. And he mentioned that there are 3 kinds of empathy. The first kind is called cognitive empathy, which is perspective taking, specifically, like Jimmy said, like Marcella's mentioned, Michelle, being able to put yourself into someone else's shoes. And that's called cognitive empathy, the first kind. Second kind is emotional empathy, which is the ability to feel what someone else feels. And that builds emotional connection. So that's emotional empathy. And the third kind is empathic concern, which is also called compassionate empathy. And that moves us beyond cognitive empathy and emotional empathy, and to take action and help as well. So according to Daniel Goleman, he talks about the 3 kinds or 3 types of empathies, and you can also find interviews of him talking about it on YouTube as well, which I've watched a few. And with that in mind now, having to learn a little bit more about empathy and its definition, let's talk about something very important. How is empathy important to your life? And specifically your personal life, your professional life. What role does empathy play and why is it important? So I like to actually open it up to the group and invite you to unmute and share your thoughts and 2 cents in your life.
For me, being part of the human resources team, it's important that I try to relate to the issues and situations that others are bringing to our attention, even if I've not experienced it before, but just from a personal connection perspective, to be able to empathize with them so that they know that we care about their situation and are trying to be supportive and helpful.
Thank you. And making people feel valued. And that also definitely helps you and your work. And that builds relationship as well. Thank you, Rosa. Right. Anybody else like to contribute? Off mic? On mic? Yeah, on mic.
I mean, similar to Rosa, whether you're consulting, with a person or a group or looking to create content and learning experiences, it's important, to do your best to empathize with the learners, the person or the group that you're looking to create the content for, the experience for, so you have a better understanding of what needs to go into the content. So it makes that connection for them, and you're able to get the results that they're looking for. And then from a personal perspective, I mean, especially nowadays, I think that's maybe some of the things that are missing in conversations and in relationships, is just really doing your best to try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And I like about the second one is, um, it may not be the same exact situation, but you could always try to feel what that other person is feeling. Um, and in doing so, again, get a better understanding of where they're coming from and why they take, the actions that they do, or why they say the things they say. So yeah, definitely important in professional and personal life.
Mm. Thank you very much, Jimmy. And Heidi, may I invite you to share a little bit more to elaborate?
Of course. I think it's important because you have an opportunity to remind yourself that you are human and feel human and also feel alive. We have to feel something to feel alive, whether it's positive or not.
Thank
We
you.
also live, and we're not living alone on an island. So being part of a society and not feeling anything, I don't think we might as well be a robot.
Thank you. Yeah. To feel and to be alive and be human, connections is certainly very important, and empathy plays that important role in helping us connect and continuously fostering that as well. So speaking of feelings as well, the next question we have is going to be an annotation activity. And if you haven't done this already, hover your mouse over to view options at the top of the screen, hit annotate and pull up this toolbar. And we're mainly going to be using text. And if you hit format, you can also change the color and the size of the font and make a beautiful poster together as well. And what we're going to doing with the annotation is answering this question. Speaking of, yes, empathy is important in our lives in many ways. There are different kinds of empathy, and what we were sharing was more on, us knowing and feeling that empathy is important. At the same time, let's think about, okay, when someone has shown empathy to us, when we're the receiving end of that good level of empathy and positive experience, how did that make you feel as well? A little bit of that give and take. As we want to empathize with others, when we receive empathy, how did that make you feel? Feel free to put in multiple entries. If you're not able to activate the annotation, let us know, or type in the chat. That's okay as well. Cool. We have some drawings. We have some typing. Feeling good, listened to, understood, respected, valued. Marcella, would you like to come off mute and elaborate on your drawing to be done yet?
Hi.
Go ahead
I'm trying to write, but I'm having a hard time. But relief is actually the word I was trying to come up with, and the expression I was trying to draw. I'm also an artist, so I kind of, I tend to start drawing when anybody asks me how I feel about something.
Yeah.
I see the
wonderful.
smile on it. Yeah, I saw it. When I saw her
Supposed to
do
look
that,
like
I
a-
thought she was saying happy. So,
Uh,
yeah.
relief, happy relief. Yeah, so I think you certainly got it. Because sometimes there's a lot of tension that builds up, and when you're trying to make yourself understood, and then when someone says, "Oh, I see how you might be feeling," you're kind of like, "Oh, I don't have to have that tension anymore."
Mm. Thank you very much. Yeah. So thank you for your contribution. Understood, valued, relieved, feeling that's certainly very good, very happy. And that, continues to build on that mutual respect, mutual understanding. And there are so many benefits to good levels of empathy on, for everybody, right? You build better relationships, more connections, and that in turns increase engagement and productivity at work, because with better understanding, you're able to do the work more effectively. Absolutely personal and professional growth. So much to benefit from on so many levels and different aspects of our lives. And that's definitely no doubt. You know, by this point, we are there with the topic of empathy. With that in mind, while we're striving for these, valuable moments and good feels from empathy, from showing empathy, from receiving, from others showing empathy to us as well. I like to bring our attention to, on the contrary, let's take a look at 3 common empathy traps that may hinder our communication with others and hinder our connection with others, even if we mean well. So with this in mind, we want to get there. It's important. However, let's look at a few things that we want to bring our attention to and be more aware, so that perhaps in the future we avoid them a little bit more and look at the hindrance. Thank you, Rosa, for clearing the board. So the next slide is about empathy traps. So we're going to flip the coin and look at the other side, and the not so cool side about these empathy traps and how it may be a hindrance to our relationship building journey with others around us. And before I go over the empathy traps, I like to establish the different parties in the communication cycle. And in a situation, we have the sharer person, which is the person sharing the story, the ideas, the situations, and the feeling. And then the sharer is telling those stories and situations and feelings to the person on the other side, and we're calling them the responder. And in turn, as the responder listens to the story and the sharing, the responder then gives an answer of some sort, and in turn potentially fall into the empathy traps. So with that understanding, I'm going to talk a few examples of the 3 common empathy traps to illustrate, what are the potential traps that we might be working with, or we might want to raise our awareness on. So empathy trap number 1, actually, let me use one story to illustrate. Actually, about a year ago at this time, I was working in the US, and I was out of Hong Kong for 8 weeks. And by the time I got back to Hong Kong, it was mid-March, and pandemic was officially worldwide. And coming back to Hong Kong after 8 weeks away, it was a pretty huge adjustment, and I had to do the quarantine in Hong Kong, and everything changed, masks every day, lots of new adjustments and lots of changes. So as I was catching up with a colleague, I was asked, how are you doing? So I share my gratefulness to what I have. At the same time, I was definitely worried, concerned, especially at that point. And how business is affected and all that jazz. And so empathy trap number 1 is when I was telling this story to, let's give the responder a name, Peter. Peter's response was, it's okay, Maya, I hear you, but actually I just read it in news the other day. someone had to go homeless overnight. So this empathy trap is called the even worse. And I'd like to invite you to just quickly unmute yourselves. If you were me in that situation and Peter said that to you, how would that make you feel?
I think I would feel like, you know, I was discussing something that was trivial compared to that. Even though your situation was impactful, but now we're talking about someone who's got nowhere to lay their head, to feel safe. So, my situation, if that was, if that was me in your shoes, I'd be like, well, that's nothing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
I
Heidi
think I
said.
would,
Go ahead,
I'm
Heidi.
sorry, go ahead.
No, after you.
Thank you. I think I would feel ungrateful, going on and on and on. And then all of a sudden this person has got some real trouble. And that would make me feel very, very bad. Go ahead, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. And Jimmy?
I think what I was kind of piggybacking off of what Heidi was saying as well, that it nullifies my feelings. I would get what Peter, I think you said the name would be, was trying to do, and helping me to keep things in perspective, which again, I completely feel that. But if you're not at least attempting to empathize with how I'm feeling right now, and at least express that, or try to show some care about that before you say, hey, well, I get where you're coming from, but this person has it worse. Like, again, I think it would nullify. I would have the feeling that my feelings were nullified and not necessarily being listened to, even though they may have good intentions.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. And Marcella?
People do this with kids a lot. When a kid complains about something, they go like, you can't complain because, somebody has it much worse than you. And often, that's kind of like telling them their feelings are not valid or not, so you feel like your feelings are discounted. And so that kind of almost teaches kids a lot of times to suppress everything.
Thank you for your sharing and observation. And yeah, invalidated. This is feeling bad, and could make the other person, could make the sharer in this case. Let's clarify. It could make the sharer feel negatively. And Jimmy mentioned a point. Even if Peter meant well. Right, so that's a very good point as well to point out. Yes, the responder could mean well, but these empathy traps, we could fall into it unintentionally for sure. And so that's empathy trap number one, as one of the common ones. The second one, so to illustrate with the same example, so I'm sharing that same story with another colleague called Mary. And Mary, this time, her response was, I'm sorry to hear that, Maya. I get that. But you know what? Spring's here, the sun's shining, everything's gonna be okay. Let's go for a hike. We'll be fine. Yeah, let's ride it through. Everything will be beautiful again soon. So empathy trap number 2 is called look on the bright side. And that is, just masking it with telling people everything's gonna be fine. Let's look at the bright side and look forward. And empathy trap number 3 would be using the same story as an example. So John, this time, John says to me, "Oh, I know, Maya, work's affected. How about go work with Uber Eats or something, make a few bucks in the meantime if not much other work is happening. Be a delivery gal in the meantime. How about that? That might help." So empathy trap 3 is called the problem solving or problem solver, if you may. Raise your hand if that sounds familiar or you resonate with that story. Yeah, jumping into a solution mode. Again, intending well, right? Trying to help. So something I wanted to highlight would be intention versus impact. So a lot of times we intend well. And the fact that I share, in my case, the fact that I share these stories with the Peters and Johns and the Marys in my world, obviously because I wanted to and I trust them. So they mean well, yes. However, the impact of their choice of words or their behavior or their action may not be so positive in the moment. And if we look at the different situations happening around us, there's always going to be better or worse. There's actually an idiom in Chinese that, there's never enough if you compare more or worse. There's just always going to be better or worse. So, just bringing back to that point of empathy. So these are the 3 common empathy traps. And let me pull up a summary slide, and Ross is going to help us pose a couple of empathy traps, because coming up we're going to do a breakout sharing for you to talk a little bit more about this as well. Right, so you're going to be in pairs. Yeah, so while Ross is helping to prepare the breakout room, let me walk you through what you're gonna do in the breakout room in pairs. And so these are the 3 empathy traps we talk about. So breakout room feature a quick intro, and we want to share on with the actual topic that I'm going to introduce, and to help you manage time, there's going to be some additional features in the breakout room. If you haven't done this already before, there's a timer at the top right-hand corner to help you manage remaining time so that everyone shares. If you need to ask for help, there is an additional button only available in the breakout room. And when you hit it, it will notify Rosa and me to come in to help you answer any additional questions if you have them. Once breakout room time is over, there's a pop-up to tell you there's 10 seconds left, so you can wrap up your conversation and be ready to be magically zapped back to the main room. Okay, and this round, you're going to be in pairs to share a story or situation connecting to your own experience when you were the sharer. So pick a scenario or a situation from your experience which you do not mind to share with your partner in the breakout. So again, the breakout stories won't be recorded, and you're in choice of what you're comfortable sharing, and which stories you choose to share. So in the shoes of the sharer, and whether you were telling your story, ideas, situations, and feelings to a loved one, to a family member, to a colleague who was the responder, and they have fallen into the traps, even if they mean well. So again, intention versus impact. So assuming they intend well, but let's look at the impact when we talk about empathy traps. So in the breakout room, in your pairs, you have 5 minutes to share among yourselves. So about 2 minutes each, yeah. A quick context setting, what happened, but very importantly, how did that make you feel? So share that story with each other, explore these emotions and the impact of your responder at the moment, falling into the empathy traps, and how did that make you feel? Any questions before Rosa launches into the breakout rooms? If not, off you go. See you in 5. Rosa, shall we pause the recording for the breakout during
Okay, no, I don't know. Let me see.
another breakout room? So let me just make sure we hit recording again. We paused it during the breakout time. Note to Rosa, thank you. Straight into another round of breakout room. And this time, go ahead and share another story, a different story or a situation when you were the responder in this communication cycle, where you have fallen into the trap or the traps, even with good intention, as we've mentioned so far. So think about this situation or scenario again that you don't mind sharing with your partner in the breakout room, and what happened there, and noticing your intention of saying those words or doing those things, and reflecting on it and thinking about what's the impact of your response as you realize now that you may have fallen into some of those empathy traps, even if you meant well. All right, with this round. Any questions before we go straight back into another round of breakout? All right, and Ross has posted the questions on the chat as well if you want to refer back to it during the breakout time. Okay, 5 minutes, off you go. I'll see you soon.
And they're back.
Welcome
With
back.
happy faces.
The magic zap. And all right, so the 2 rounds of breakout room is over. And welcome back. I'd like to open it up to the room for you to share not so much the stories, but the insights, the thoughts and realizations you have from both rounds combined. So feel free to unmute, leverage the small group. We can just have a conversation. And we're not meeting in person, but this is absolutely face-to-face.
And Maya, I did want to bring up, Michelle sent a message that this was wonderful for her so far, but she has to break away. She's not able to stay for the entire meeting, so I guess she's going to break off shortly. Just, giving you that heads up. Michelle, we will absolutely post the recording. We'll send that link for you so that you get the full impact of the entire program. And thank you for the time that you've been able to share with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. And keep that piece of paper when you watch the recording. That's when we're going to use it coming up soon. So.
Yeah.
Thank you. See you. All right. So Jimmy, Heidi, Marcella, be right back. Yeah, Jimmy, Heidi.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I was paired up with Marcella, and strangely or oddly enough, for me, our conversations really revolved around my parents, us being parents, and our kids, and not necessarily from a professional standpoint. I really couldn't think of, in either case, specific examples that just kind of came to the front of mind. But we definitely sensed, especially in the second time as well, how easy it is as parents sometimes to kind of go with the even worse trap, or typically as men, kind of painting with a broad brush. You're always looking to fix something, and I've seen that with my dad in my life. And and just talking through that, how even though we know those things, and as our children, we have adult kids, as they get older, how you start to see some of that start to switch, and now they're trying to help you with things and provide you with solutions. And like, I don't want solutions. I just want you to listen. I just want you to put your arm around me or something like that. And so it was just interesting that the conversations revolved around parents and children, and us being parents as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing. And actually, during the breakout time, Ross and I was having a conversation and appreciating how powerful, when the traps are brought up, that we tend to just kind of shove children's feelings aside, and that's regardless of culture.
Yeah.
So yeah, great point you brought up there, and having that awareness and observing these switches, as you called it. Thank you for sharing.
No, absolutely.
And Heidi, anything to add?
Sure. I think this was a wonderful experience. Michelle and I were able to share one another's stories, and I could see how how close we felt to each other. We've been emailing each other because I'm in membership, and so I've emailed her. So I really know her a little bit, but it's not the same. And this was just a way to get so much close in just a few minutes, much closer in just a few minutes. And I'm amazed at how powerful sharing these little stories is, and how important it is to really keep those 3 traps in mind.
Thank you, Heidi. Any additional insights in terms of from sharing your stories that you realize about these traps particularly? Anything to add on that end?
It was difficult for me to relate because I have a wonderful husband that really fills practically almost every void in my life. If there's, I mean, yes, there were, of course, but so it was very hard for me to see, is there a time when I have not felt validated? So I was stuck there, and maybe that's a good thing because I couldn't think of other, and I'm sure I've been, probably not validated many times. One question I do have, and that is, there are times when I had a mentor whom I shared sometimes situations or that represented a problem to me. So instead of saying, "Well, I'm sorry," I feel this way or that way, what he would say is, "Well, tell me about if this continued, what is the worst thing that could happen?" And I came, of course, he was not telling me how to feel. I came with, I used to come with some, well, this can happen or that can happen. So how do you feel about that? Well, I feel better. So if it comes from ourselves, going through that thought process, that may be something that can help too, I believe.
Thank you. Yeah, through asking helpful questions and at the right moment as well, and depending on where we are with the conversation, in the heat of moment, some questions will probably set people off rather than encourage reflection, but it's absolutely powerful if we can reach the realizations ourselves. And part of the bigger purpose is through these stories, reflection from knowledge of what is empathy, right? 3 kinds and the traps, really connect, right? As we said at the start, connect with our experience, and for you to come up with your unique way of connecting with the material is what matters the most for you. And that's, I can encourage a certain way, but at the end of the day, that's for you as well. So great way to look at it. And thank you very much for sharing, and welcome Amanda for joining us. And Amanda is also in Hong Kong. I've known Amanda for a couple of years, actually. Welcome for joining. And we are moving into the next phase of the program. So we've just finished the empathy traps sharing. So work with us, and we will carry on. So Marcella, welcome back as well. So from that breakout room sharing, lots of realizations and thoughts around, feeling grateful for our lives, and realizing these things happen more often than we realize, perhaps, right? So great way to raise awareness, and we're here because we care. So because we care, let's bring us back to the purpose of this exercise or this workshop, being to unbox our empathic potential. So why do we call it unbox? Now, coming to the second half of the workshop, from those realizations, thinking back, hey, let's then from these realization strive to unbox our empathic potential and continuously improve and, hone in those benefits and get to that great feeling that you've mentioned in the beginning, right? Feeling understood, feeling relieved, feeling valued. So how can we go there even more from having these realization and hopefully avoiding the traps in our circle and in our lives as well? So with that in mind, let me go to, as we transition into unboxing empathic potential. So really thinking about application and action points coming to the second half of the program. One thing I want to highlight on is empathy to self and others at the same time. And a lot of times when we talk about empathy, we tend to think about us, interaction with other people and how I empathize with others, which is absolutely beautiful. We definitely, it involves human beings, right? And we're in a community, we connect with people. Beautiful, definitely true. At the same time, I want to highlight self-empathy. The self-empathy is an opportunity for us to recognize and acknowledge the emotions that we feel as an individual to yourself. It's an opportunity to not discount ourselves and others as well. And the one insight I have is the society, I feel from this is speaking from my experience, I feel like the society tends to encourage people to look on the bright side, right? Empathy trap 2, and be like, oh, it's okay. In order to feel positive, you have to suppress or shove the negative feelings to the side. It's okay. Let's be happy, right? It's as if the negative emotions are going to be discounted or doesn't matter as much. But the way I look at it and my insights is, yes, I am concerned, I am worried, I am tired. Yes, to all of the above. And yes, I am also grateful and thankful at the same time. And having that opportunity to face myself authentically and my emotions and validating, bringing in the self-empathy is another gift I like to encourage you to think about for yourself, especially in moments like these days as well. So self-empathy and empathy for others are equally important. So when we talk about what else can we do or what more can we do, I like you to also include that into the consideration of the action point, because without taking care of ourselves, how can we further show empathy to others and influence others as well, right? So with that desire to improve, we've got to make changes. In order to improve, there are going to be changes to be made. So, let's look at what are the changes we're going to be making. Speaking of changes, very interesting facts / observation is when in general people face change, there's usually some thoughts or connotation attached to facing change. And a lot of people find it difficult. So my question to you, if you can go to the chat right now and type in some thoughts on, in order to improve, we've got to change. But when we face change, a lot of people tend to find it very difficult. Why is it so difficult to change for so many people as we strive to be better, but struggles to change? What are the reasons? Habit, fear of loss, change is scary. Yes. What's gonna happen? Yeah, really hard to break the habits, right? And comfort zone is the word that we definitely hear over and over again, many occasions. Yeah, I see some head nods. The biggest challenge is changing your mindset and to accept the need for change. Yeah, mindset change is difficult. We get comfortable, yeah, that comfort zone moment. So yeah, change can be painful. It can be difficult. It can be sticky. Fear of trying something new, the unknown. Maybe past experience, we felt like we've failed at a change point and we're scared may not have resulted in something good in the past. A lot of background and experience that affect our perceptions to change. So change can be painful and sticky. And on the other hand, change can absolutely also be exciting and full of opportunities. So to improve our empathy, we've got to change, and recognizing the fear of change and potential difficulties. Let's try to defy that and disrupt that momentarily. With that, when we think of change, oftentimes the phrase, let's think outside the box, comes up. Raise your hand if you've heard of this phrase before. Let's think outside the box. Raise your hand if you've said it yourself before. Yeah. So it's been around for, I don't even know how long, for many, many years, probably longer than I've been alive. And so let's try and look at, to improve, we got to change, and to change, to think outside the box, to get out of those comfort zone, to try and defy those fear. And there's a tool that I like to introduce to help us do that, to help us change and be more empathic and to unbox our empathic potential. And at this moment, I would like to stop my screen share. And hello, my name is Maya. I am thinking inside a box. It affects how I perceive you. It affects how you perceive me. It also affects how I interact with my surroundings. Hello, I am Maya. I am still thinking inside a box. It affects how I perceive you. It affects how you perceive me, and it affects how I interact with my surroundings and my immediate environment. If I have a thinking box on my head, you have one too. So on the basis of thinking about this thinking box we all have that limits us to change. So to introduce this concept, this is a tool that we've created, literally taking the phrase "think outside the box" to inspire people around the world. When we are talking about changing mindsets, like Jimmy said. So this is the box tool. Some of you might have attended Jimbo's session previously. It is this physical big box, and in a virtual environment, we've actually modified it to make it virtual format. So in a moment, you'll be folding a little box using the piece of paper. We'll go over together to represent your box. So, to change, to be more empathic, we've got to think outside the box to do something differently. So this tool is to help us reflect further. And the box is essentially everything you've just typed in the chat. It's what made us make human feel that it's difficult to change. So from talking to thousands of people, these are some of the examples, and it's pretty much what you've written. So I'm not going to go over each one. Comfort zone, right? Culture, habits, upbringing, some of the ones that you've highlighted, among other things. And all of these basically form this box, and it causes us to fall into the empathy traps at times, unintentionally. And sometimes we may not even realize that we have. But starting from now, after this workshop, I hope that your awareness is further increased and you can break out of that box and fall into the traps less in the future. So nothing changes if nothing changes. So let's work on making some changes together. And with the box in mind, we're not trying to say that let's dump the box, because the box have our past experience, right? As you said, as we said, past experience is amazing, but at the same time, it can limit us. So we're trying to think out of the box, but it's rather than throwing out our current box, we want to expand our box to think differently. So that's what we're trying to do. So we're going to call it the improved box. So let's make our improved box, which we've been working with so many people around the world. And that's how we created the virtual box, because some of our friends saw the post, saw the news article and said, hey, that's your box that prevents us from corona. So we were like, okay, Jimbo, the creator particularly, he wanted to work on how, now that we can't do the in-person program, how do we make this box tool more accessible for more people? So we've come up with this virtual mini box version. So you're about to make your box, and we're going to look at how to increase and improve empathy. So let's take out your piece of paper, and in profile, landscape, and fold down in half, fold the middle down in half to like a long strip. Like this, you can follow the slide or my video. And then after you fold that strip, fold in half again in the middle. Okay, like that, in the center. And then open it back up again, the same face. Create 2 equal crease on either side and fold it towards the middle, like closing the door. So all the crease should face the same way. And as you open the box up again, hold it in a 3D shape. You would then have your very own empathy box, your improved empathy box that we're going to be working on. So let's wave your box. Wonderful. Jimmy, Heidi, we're good? All right, great. So this is your empathy box, and we have the outside and an inside, and they represent different things. So we're going to work on the inside first. So let's open the box up and take out the pen, please, and write down at the bottom of the inside of your box, my empathic potential. This is your improved thinking for your empathic potential. Go ahead and write that down. And at the top of each panel, follow the instructions on the screen and draw or write those titles. The heart target is basically a little heart in the middle and a little target around it. There's stop, avoid. Glasses could be just glasses, doesn't have to be sunglasses. And start, continue on the last panel. So let's go into the first panel on the far left. Yes, far left, the heart target panel. Heart target panel, we have a beautiful drawing here. And this is, we call it the heart target, and the metaphor we use here is, this is for us to take a moment to exercise self-empathy. So what we mean by that is, underneath the heart target, you're going to have some time to write down, let's take this moment to recognize and acknowledge the emotions that you're feeling. So for me, these days, I am tired, I am concerned because of, different reasons. This is what I'm feeling. And I am also absolutely grateful and excited as well. So everything I'm feeling, I like to recognize and acknowledge it. So now you have 2 minutes. There's a timer on the top left-hand corner. I'm going to stay on mute, and you go ahead and write down these feelings for yourselves, and nobody else will read your box except when you want to share with anybody. So take this chance, and I'm going to stay on mute. All right. So for some of the panels, you might find that you want a little more time, which we understand. So my encouragement to you is for the program duration, we would need to be able to move on to the next panels. At the same time, absolutely keep this box with you and carry on writing as you wish after the session. All right. So with that in mind, I hope you had and enjoy that short moment of quiet time to exercise self-empathy and find that helpful. The next two panels actually that we're going to be working on are the start, continue, and the stop, avoid. So let me give some examples on this on what we're doing here. Remember I mentioned earlier the self-empathy and empathy for others. So these are essentially action points that you would like to exercise more of or less of, depending on what you're talking about. So start, continue is something that you want to do more, you want to start doing, you want to continue doing to improve your empathy, to increase your empathic power per se. And so my example is to continue to put things in perspective. As one example, when I'm working on this panel myself. And the other one, to stop, avoid, for me, I've chosen this line on the self-empathy side, which is being stop or avoid being too self-critical, which it can be a double-sided sword for me at times. So without explaining my story too much, so these are my two examples for start, continue, stop, avoid. There's no limit to how many you want to write, and also the context, work, personal, family, friends, self, others. It's open for your interpretation and however you like to utilize your time. So timer at the top left-hand corner, 2 minutes, off you go. All right. Thank you very much. And we're going to go to the last panel on the inside of your box, which is the filters. So before we start writing, I like to invite you to hold up your box in a 3D shape and take a peek inside at the top of the panels. if you hold it a certain way, you'll find that the glasses are the front of the box and the hard target is at the back of the box as the metaphor. And on the left side and the right side is your stop, avoid, and start, continue, right? So the metaphor here is the front of the box is your glass, your filter that represents your filters. And the back of your box is your hard target, you know, like what are you thinking and feeling? So the glasses, the front of that box then represents how we perceive the world. You know, earlier when I wore the big box, you know, when we, you know, as we wear this invisible thinking box, we all have one, and it comes with our background and experience, and that inevitably that impacts the way we perceive the world. And so, you know, the metaphor is it's where we want to bring to the question of taking this metaphor, how we perceive the world and how we interact with others using these lens, right? These glasses. How can we use this as a pair of lens to help us see better next time before we fall into the empathy traps? So to potentially help us, to remind us in this topic to not fall into the traps. So we call it the filter phrase, and perhaps let me give an example to illustrate that. So the phrase should be simple, clear, meaningful, and it's a reminder for yourself going forward to fall into the traps less so. So my filter phrase, the pair of glasses that I want to be wearing to remind myself to see better in the topic of empathy is perspective taking is king, communication is queen. So it's kind of like your personal quote, or you can quote someone else's quote. That's fine as well. So a summary of the kind of reminder you want to give yourself in service of your empathic potential. 1 minute, go ahead. I'd like to invite everyone to go to the chat box and type in your filter phrase. What's your filter phrase? Marcella, would you like to come off mute to elaborate?
Sure. I think nowadays being a lot of political polarization nowadays, and I'm actually living in a retirement community as I'm retired now, and sometimes people come up to me and they start saying stuff that I just so completely disagree with politically, because they assume, I guess, because I'm white, that I'm going to agree with them. It's like, even though they say horrendous things. And so I get a big emotional reaction sometimes, and a lot of judgment coming. So, so I think, to see them as a person, is very important at that point before I start just like judging them and putting them in a category and reacting to them negatively. So I think it's very important to see them. And once you see them as a person, you can kind of at least see where their attitudes are coming from, their fears or whatever they're, and usually it's fear, but at least to know that you can respond to it that way, rather than just saying you're a terrible person and I hate you. You kind of you can respond in more productive ways without necessarily agreeing with them or anything like that. So
Thank you for sharing, Marcella, and taking a pause and taking that time to, and you touch on perspective taking and feeling as well, in that emotional empathy as well, and beautiful. And yeah, thank you for sharing. Heidi, Amanda, Rosa, anything to add about your filter phrase and having completed the inside of our box so far?
And so I wrote several things, but I think the biggest one for me is to just always value everyone. Like even what Marcella shared, I've experienced some of the same, but at the end of the day, I just try to look at people and try to understand that, even their negativity could have some value. And I can learn something from it. Maybe even learning just how to be a little more patient because I don't share their views, so listen better, whatever, not, I don't have to agree with you, but I can still give you respect, listen, like what she says she does. And, we agree to disagree, but you're human. And so I value that, and treat people from that lens versus, getting into, like she said, doesn't make sense to debate, with some wasted
energy
and,
Thank you. Beautifully said. Heidi, did you have something
Yes,
to add? Yeah.
sure. One thing that I think could be good filter for me is acknowledging my own feelings. I've always thought that I've been so focused on my goals, professional goals, for instance, that I have probably not focused on what I feel many times. And so I thought that acknowledging my own feelings is important, and also how that has probably not enabled me to understand others even more, because not everybody can be as rational and analytic all the time, and we probably shouldn't. So my other filter is understanding others' feelings is critical. So mine is important, but others is critical. So keeping those two in mind is something that I'd like to do, and starting with myself and not denying my feelings to myself.
Thank you. So catching some themes on valuing everyone, including ourselves, and to start with ourselves, and embracing differences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't always have to all agree, but find ways to embrace it. Yeah, thank you. Amanda, thoughts to add, or share your filter phrase?
Yeah, I think these phases I just come up this morning, and it's struck me a lot because we went through last year a lot of turbulence, troubles, uncertainty, and probably I can see those things just like the troubled water. When the sailing boats go on the troubled water, it's very pumpy, and it's not comfortable, it's not happy. But on the other hand, I try to see from another glasses. If I can go over those troubled water, and I can become a uh, skillful sailors, so I can charter into a new song, a new course, and using all my potential to go through this difficulties, yeah, uncertainty. So I think just like sailing is a journey. Is how I see the uncertainty, the complexity of the situation nowadays.
Thank you. And how does that connect to, how would you like to further unbox your empathic potential to help you ride those waves in sailing?
I think patient and willing to see something that is not as we thought. So open, be curious to accept differences or not as planned. So welcome the accidental happening. Probably is a new kind of experience. Maybe Maya, you have more experience than me on the sea. There is a very dynamic. The wave, the wind, the currents change all the time. Yeah, this is life.
Thank you. Thank you for contributing. And yeah, and in connection to finishing the inside of our box, then we continue to work on expanding that box, right? Find more opportunities and realizing more and more now as we go on this reflection journey and connect with our emotions and experience even more. And with that, I'd like to go back to my next set of slides, which is we're going to talk about the outside of your box. So if you hold up your box now, the inside represents our private thinking. And these are some of the things that we thought about, we feel, and we want to be doing, right? The start, stop, start, continue, stop, avoid, and something that we think within us. So to translate it into actual tangible actions, and this is a visualizing exercise coming up where we're going to open up our box, continue to expand our box, and imagine all of those thoughts and feelings and actions and content seeping through and going to the outside of your box. And the outside of the box, we're calling it the observable self. So in metaphor sense, inside of the box is your private thinking, and the outside of the box is something that people can see. So if I take back the big box, people can see the outside of your box very clearly, while I can keep the inside of my box, my thinking private. So when we changed our inner thoughts, that in turn change our action, right, on the outside, which is observable by others through interaction with others. Change your box, in turn, it changed our world, our immediate world, our environment around us. And, starting with ourselves, like Heidi said, then in turn, we may also be able to influence others around us. So the outside of the box, let me go to the next slide, is the observable you, the observable self. And so now let's flip over to the outside of the box, the blank version. This time I'm going to go over all the panels first, and you have a couple minutes to fill them out. And let me explain. So the main question is, if you change your thinking and take action from everything you've reflected on the inside, imagining the future, visualizing the future, when you get there, when you are unboxing your empathic potential, as you go for those action points, how will you show up for yourself and others? That is observable, right, on the outside. So specifically, so go ahead and write the title down, and I'll explain what we mean by that. Do is what will others see you do? What new ways of communication will you be having, or how will you be showing empathy? So action, what will you do? Second panel, say. So what will you be saying or talking about? And an example for me that I've literally started doing for quite some time now is to, in a way, ask for permission before I give my 2 cents. So when a friend shares some situations or stories with me, instead of jumping unintentionally into problem solver mode, right? I take a pause and I ask, hey, thank you for sharing. Would you like me to just listen, or would you like to hear my suggestions? So I let my friend, in this case, choose if she just want me to listen, I'm happy to do so. Or if she's actually seeking my advice, I'm also happy to give suggestions. So this is an example of something that I, will say and do as I was doing this box myself a year ago. And the third panel is called Others May Say, and that's when other people see your changed behaviors. Again, visualizing the future, right? When people see your changed behaviors, what will they say back to you, or how will they respond to your changes? So feedback from other people to your changes. And the last panel is the impact. How will that impact your personal life, work life, your friendships? What will the impact of your changes as you further unleash your empathic potential? You've unboxed it and you've further expanded. All right. So let me pose those questions, and you focus on writing, and I'm going to stay on mute for a few minutes. Thank you, Rosa. I was going to help so you can write. Thank you. So Rosa's posed some of the supplementary questions on the chat if you want to refer back to it, and I'm going to stay on mute for about 2 more minutes. more seconds to wrap up. All right, please turn your attention back on Zoom, and I absolutely recognize that you might want more time, and another encouragement here is to share the box however you like it. Absolutely keep it for yourself to update the box, come revisit the box, add to your own box after the session. So this is part of the journey, and certainly not the only chance you would work on the box. So here's my encouragement to you all. And with that, we have completed all 8 panels of the box, and just now we've worked on the outside, right? Visualizing the future of how we will show up for ourselves and others as we reach that more empathic point and increased empathic power. So I'd like to invite everyone to close your eyes now and just think back at everything you've written on the outside of your box. Close your eyes and take a moment. Take a deep breath and think back at those things you've written and soak it in. Let it soak in. And visualize when those happened, how will that make you feel? And on a count of 3, I'd like you to open your eyes and strike a pose to represent how that made you feel. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Thank you. Wonderful. Yep. So remember that feeling, and I hope you all reach there and beyond. Absolutely, it doesn't stop there. And like Amanda said, it's definitely a continuous journey. So with that, we have a few more minutes for our closing phase, and I'd like to invite everyone to share any last thoughts on your key insights, and then I'm going to hand it back to Rosa to close the session for us, representing ATD Central Florida. So first of all, let's congratulate everyone for completing the box and having gone through almost 2 hours of this program. And
a happy new year.
Happy Chinese New Year. Happy New Year.
Oh, happy Chinese New Year.
Yes, on Friday. Thank you. Yeah, thoughts and learning insights.
Well, I want to say that having taken Jimbo's first one of unpacking that box for sustainability, and now unpacking or unboxing your empathetic one, it's like, wow, putting both of them together is really just amazing. So thank you. For me, my impact that I hope to see is that I'm going to be less stressed over certain things, but that people are also going to see that, I do care, that I care more, that they'll be able to see that, to have that impact, on the folks around me, whether it's at work or my loved ones that are in my life. So thank you for this session. This was really impactful.
Thank you, Rosa. Anyone else? Feel free. Yeah.
I realized
Marcella?
I have to remind myself to paraphrase more. And I was recalling that I did actually come up with a whole model for call center people a while back when they had customers calling upset. And I realized after listening to like multitudes of tapes of people getting upset, with customer service reps, that very often it wasn't, they made them more upset. It was that people didn't really call that upset to begin with. They weren't that angry, but the response they got made them more angry. And so I think a lot, so I came up with this whole system, and I should follow it myself. And in other words, I don't always do what I don't always practice what I preach, and that I definitely need to paraphrase a lot more and listen to people and paraphrase what they have to say more. And I don't do that enough. I'm too impatient. So, thank you. That was really refreshing.
Thank you, Marcella, and thanks for the tip for pair. And for those people who are watching the recording later, pair stands for paraphrase, empathize, apologize, and reassure. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, Marcella. I thought it was really insightful. Having previous call center training experience, I could relate to it, and I thought it was, it's awesome. It's very short, sweet, to the point, and it's just 4 quick things we can do, and it applies to anything. So thank you for sharing that.
The nice thing, it's very visual too, because I also drew a pair, and we had like, if you have an angry customer, said give them a pear, and we showed, kind of like this little monster, upset monster, and then somebody handing them a pear. So it's got a really strong visual to it.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and I just came up with a show them you care with a pear.
All right. That could be the
Literally just thought of
theme.
it.
That could be the theme for this session. Show care with a bear. It's showing empathy. Showing empathy. Yes, I love it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Heidi? Amena? Anything to add?
Well, this has been a very impactful session, and it has so many applications in your life. Being in talent development, I was already thinking how I can apply it at work, how can I apply it at home, how can I apply it with my relatives. And one of the things I need to do is to start acknowledging myself more, understand myself more, allow myself more to have feelings. Now, it's not only responsibility; we're humans. So this has been a very good reminder of what I want to do, and just connecting with others at different levels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful to hear. And I'm great. Yes, Amena.
Maya. I missed the first session because I just finished another meeting and I joined late. So is that possible to see the recording of the beginning session? Thank you.
Yes, we will send it to you, Amana. You will receive it.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. And again, very honored and grateful to be able to run this one more time. And this is something I have, it's brought me a lot of insights and learning from you all as well. So I'm almost running out of words, just so much feels. And so big thank you from the bottom of my heart. And carry on and share your box, to revisit your box, update your box. And yeah, so with that, we're coming to a close, and I'm gonna hand it back to Rosa, and I'm actually gonna help post a few links. Actually, Rosa, over to you, and I'll just post a few links for our closing bits. Rosa, you're on mute.
Thank you. That's that's the ultimate, like a new thing. Everybody saying you're on mute. I apologize about that. So again, I wanted to thank everyone for your attendance here today. We truly appreciate you supporting our local ATD chapter, and we're just very thankful to be able to bring you these type of opportunities. Aman, we will most definitely share that recording with you. Everyone who attended today, you will receive a email thanking you for your time and with how to connect with Maya, and so that you can stay abreast of all the amazing things that she's doing out there, as well as how to just attend more things that our chapter is offering. And, really quickly, I will just direct you to go to the website, and you'll see the different things that we have coming up. The next one that we've got scheduled is for April, Fearless Adventures in Learning. And that's really, how to learn how to, if you fail, it's okay. You get up, and without fear, you try again. And I think a lot of times we get stuck on we failed and we fall. So that one we're very excited about. And then 5 languages of love in the workplace. So that's under our regular digital encounters, as well as our annual conference, which is coming up soon in July. And then we have our regular what we call super interesting groups, which are just where we get together informally to talk about different things. So learning experience design, or for folks that want to get credentials like the CPTD and others, and that's the talent development essentials. And we are going to be relaunching the Job Hunter group very soon. So please check that out. And a special thank you to the volunteers, especially Heidi today. Thank you for being on here. And I know in the back end, you were checking who attended, who didn't attend, and all that. We love our volunteers. We cannot do any of this without the support of speakers like Maya, but also the support of the volunteers. So thank you for that. And anyone on the call or who is listening to this later, if you think that you have a little bit of time and you'd like to share it with us, we are more than happy to have you join our crazy crew. We have a lot of fun and love to serve our members. So check that out as well. And follow us on social media. We have a LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and I believe there's a few more coming soon. Our social media crew is always sharing things with our members that are either insightful or fun. And just follow us. And thank you, everyone, for your time today. We are going to now stop the recording, but if any of you want to stay and chat with Maya for a little bit longer, we will be here for about another 10, 15 minutes or so, or until you get tired of listening to Maya, or Maya falls asleep, whichever comes first, because it is very, it's probably her bedtime. And I think, Aman, you said as well, you're in China. So, if you all are willing to hang with us, we're here and we'll chat with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Yes. Thank